this meeting to order. This is the Town of Andover Board of Finance meeting for Wednesday, January 22nd. We will go ahead and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Okay, we will go on to our first order of business, which is public speak. Eric, I'm going to go ahead. I think I just see a Charlene Del Mastro. Charlene, do you have anything to add to the public speak portion of the meeting?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't see anyone else. And we will go on to item 3, which is changes or additions to the agenda. Does anybody have any changes or additions to the agenda?
I do.
Yeah, Louise?
I noticed that the meeting that was on 12/18, it states 12/28 on the agenda. And
Okay.
18.
Yeah, so that should read 12/18. Good point. Yep, good catch.
On top of that,
So that's item 4B. Yeah.
I
So we'll
wasn't at
just,
the meeting, but my name is listed on there as attending. So that should,
okay. Well, all right, we can make that change when we come to that then. Okay, thanks. Any other changes to the agenda?
I do.
Yep, go ahead, Kim.
I would just like to add the transfers for the town garage equipment.
I think we're talking about, are we talking about changes to this agenda?
Yep.
Okay,
So that should probably be 6B.
Okay.
So that was transfers to town garage equipment.
Well, the transfers for equipment that we've sold, I just want to check on that.
Okay,
Not sure how you want to put that, Mark. Thank you.
I'll just put transfers for equipment. We'll figure town garage. Okay.
I'd also like to add.
Hold on, Liz. Hold on.
Sorry.
We need to have a vote on the
Oh.
agenda change. Does anybody want a second? Actually, we should probably go back. I don't know. To me, Louise's first one's just pretty much a, that's just a clerical error. So I don't know if we need to vote on it, but does anybody want a second Kim's motion to add item 6B, which is transfers the, okay,
second.
Liz? Okay, so your name up. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Liz.
I would like to add a discussion about this, the AHM youth calculation that we got in
Yeah,
an email.
The town
today or
oversight.
yesterday.
Okay, we'll just call it the AHM town contribution and meeting or something like that, because I was going to
Yep.
suggest we add the meeting to the agenda. Okay, so that would be item 6C, which is the AHM town contribution and meeting. Anybody want to second that?
I will.
No? Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, no abstentions. All right, motion passes. That'll be item 6C. Any further additions or changes to the menu or to the agenda?
I'd like to add one more thing to the discussion for budget meeting dates. The topic of budgetary expectations from town departments.
Okay. Normally under budget discussions, we can get pretty wide open, but we'll go ahead and that would
that's
be
okay, too.
item. Yeah, let's go ahead and add it. Item 5D2, which is discussion of expectations. Departmental. Can you phrase that for me?
Yes, I'd like to add an item to discuss budgetary expectations of the various town departments.
So department budgetary expectations, okay. Anybody second that? Hey, Louise, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? No? Okay, passes. Okay, any other additions or changes to the menu or agenda? I'm looking at something that says menu, so yeah, stop that. Okay, hearing none, I guess we'll go ahead and move on. The first one is we have our approval of the meeting minutes. Item 4A is the tri-board meeting minutes. So you have those in front of you. Those of you that attended should be the ones to vote. Those of us who did not attend, unless you did review the transcripts or something and you feel like you have a good sense of the what occurred in that meeting, then you could also vote, I will abstain because I wasn't there, so.
I attended, but I'll be perfectly honest with you, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Hmm.
Is that something we could, is it possible to move that to the next meeting for approval, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. There's no hard and fast requirement to do it within a certain time. It's generally a good idea because then they get posted and up there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I'm just saying, I haven't read it, so I know Louise was there as well.
I was
Well,
there and I went
Louis-
through it. I didn't,
Bill was
nothing
there.
jumped out at me that didn't look right.
Okay.
yeah, but if so two options here. One is that we really, well, I guess Louise and Bill were there, so the
Mhm.
the two of you could vote on it if you feel comfortable with it, or we could defer it if Liz is going to abstain. We could defer it till the next meeting. I'm neutral.
With it.
I'm fine with deferring until next meeting. Like I said, I went through it. It all looks good to me, but sometimes people remember stuff differently. And
Okay.
so I'm good either way.
Okay.
I don't know about Louise, but
Well, if nobody has any strong feelings about approving it tonight, let's just defer it to the next meeting then.
Sounds great.
Yeah, we just won't take action on it. Okay.
Mark,
Item-
my apologies. It's Joanne. Can
Oh,
I?
hey, Joanne. Yep.
There she
Uh,
is.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, everyone. We had some family car trouble today, so we were trying to get everything arranged, and I thought I was
Mm.
going to make it on time, and then but I'm
Mm.
here. So what were you just discussing? That's all I wanted to.
The tri-board meeting minutes. So
Oh.
Liz was just saying she hadn't had a chance to review them. So she was wondering if we could table them until next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And again, my apologies. I would have let you know if I thought I was going to be late, but
Yeah.
I'm here now.
No problem.
Whoop.
Okay. So we will move on to item 4B, which is regular meeting minutes for December 18. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look through those. I did. I didn't
I
see any
did.
issues.
it looks good to me too.
Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and entertain motions to approve those meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay, Bill, any second?
I'll second.
Rob seconds, thank you. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I do. I wasn't there.
Okay, thanks, Louise, that's right. Okay. And yet you're the one that caught the issue with the date, so good job. Okay, so we will, the motion passes. We will go ahead and move on to item 5A, which is old business review of budget to actual. That is in our packet. Eric, and just right up front, we have anything we need to take a look at? I mean, we're getting a little bit past halfway through the year, the fiscal year.
There's nothing really concerning at this point.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Eric specifically about the budget? The actual so far?
No.
Okay, well, I guess we will move on then. Item 5B is the check register. Any questions on that?
I only had one, and I just
Mhm.
want, it's just a curiosity. Restaurant Equipment Paradise, 11,571. I just wondering what that was.
That is the kitchen, that's the first half of the bill for the kitchen for the
Oh.
community center.
Gotcha. Thank
So
you.
oven, fridge, freezer, sinks, dishwasher, all that kind of stuff.
I kind of thought that's what it was. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
You've got about 12 grand for acoustical solutions too.
Yeah, so that is for 2 locations. We've, for a long time, had really bad echo problems in the community room and also in the community center. So I worked with an acoustical engineer to come up with a set of recommendations for essentially acoustical wall panel treatments that will go in both locations to reduce the echo time in the building so that you can actually hear people talk.
Right.
What's the
It's
five
amazing
hundred
how well they
dollars?
work. Go ahead.
Yeah. What's the BJ's bill for $499.99?
I saw that.
So specifically, I can't tell you. We use BJ's for buying supplies for senior luncheon. Given the time frame, that could have also been the receipt and bill for what do you call it? For the Veterans Day celebration, because we buy a lot of the stuff from BJ's for that too.
Thank you. Who's Nathan L. Jacobson?
Nathan Jacobson is the engineering company that the town uses. Right now, we're paying them for basically 3 things. They're the company that's helping us with the design and permitting for the changes at the athletic fields on Riverside Drive. They're also the designer of record for the bridge replacement at Lake Road, you know, where Basola goes right by, that culvert replacement. And then we also use them for general engineering services. They're our town consulting engineer.
Other questions? Okay, I guess we can go on to item 5C, which is establish banking relationship with Webster. I know we talked a little bit about this at our last meeting. Anything more on that, Eric, or?
No, I was hoping I was gonna have a full-blown proposal for you for this meeting, but it got delayed. The treasurer will be back for about a week, the second week in February. And so we're planning on having a meeting scheduled between myself and the treasurer and the Webster's whole financial team regarding that. So we have exact kind of numbers for them. Both discussing the line of credit, and then we're also looking at kind of 3 things. 1, switching over our town credit cards to them. You know, the line of credit, and then the last thing would be discussing moving some of the accounts that we have, and I know Joanne, you wanted to discuss stiff account and the ability to put the 2% non-lapsing account in the stiff account. And the answer is we really can't, because we can only have 1 stiff account. And that technically has to stay a separate account. But what we can do is we can put it in a money market account, as long as Board of Finance and Board of Ed are both in agreement with that. which would get us close to the same interest rate. So it's basically not sitting there earning 0.1% interest. It would be nice for them to earn some money on that. So that's where the kind of the last thing we're looking at with Webster.
I think we're talking about the capital fund, not the certificate, not the 2% non-lapsing, right?
No, I think
Right,
I think they were talking about both, actually.
Yeah, they wanted to do it for the 2% account also. I mean, we talked about
Oh.
having them break out the the capital account as part of that, putting that in there and then giving them credit for the interest. But then they also wanted to do it for their own accounts. Open a separate stiff account, I think. Yep, Joanne?
Yeah, I just wanted to pipe in and I apologize. I think I'm gonna be in and out a little bit of this meeting. But I've got the volume on and I'm listening at the same time. That's what I wanted to ask Eric because of the request that we did get from the Board of Ed, wanting to put the 2% non-lapsing. So I did reach out to Cheryl. I sent her an email just to get a little more input on it too, but I haven't heard back from her. And Eric, I know you had mentioned that it's probably, you had said something about we could only have one stiff account in the town. So these are kind of the things that I want to hear from her. I even went online today to try to gather a little information for our meeting tonight. And I thought from the website, again, we still have to gather that there can be multiple, but and Mark is right in briefing what we're trying to do. So I know we're addressing this for the Board of Ed. I hope that they'll be happy that we're looking into it and just trying to get the right information. That's all we can do from the authorities that know the best. So I know Eric says one thing, which I take that more than I know about these stiff accounts. But when I went online today, I thought that they said there could be a couple of them from a town. But
Okay.
yeah, and then can I ask Eric, my big question was, since we're talking about stiff accounts in general, what town money is currently in the stiff account? Are any of the funds in there? I know we have multiple bank accounts.
I mean, at any given time, the town plus or minus has about $3 million in the stiff account. We
Okay,
move it in and out monthly, depending on our cash flow to pay bills. But yeah, the majority of money that's in our permanent accounts and our unencumbered fund balance is all in the stiff account. We keep locally only enough to pay our bills on a monthly basis.
that makes sense. I know because we've had so many questions since it's arisen and different meetings and now with the Board of Ed asking the questions of having theirs put in and yeah. Thank you. All right, I will be back.
You're muted, Mark.
Yep, thanks, just got that. Other questions for Eric related to that? Okay, so I guess we'll move on to item 5D, which is the budget discussion section. The first item is discuss and set dates for the budget meetings. And I thought I had put some of these in my calendar, but I could not find them prior to the meeting, but I kind of went back and tried to recreate what I thought made sense. So as I understand it from the charter changes, the Budtown budget meeting has to take place the second week in April, which normally we do this on a Tuesday, which would put it on April 8th. Does that sound right to you, Eric?
I would have to go back and look at my cheat sheet, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay,
The budget meeting.
yeah, the town
For s-
budget meeting.
For some reason, I have it in my calendar, Wednesday, April 9th. I don't know if I just got it wrong from a prior meeting or what, but that's what my calendar shows. With the hearing the week before.
Oh,
They
okay.
usually held on a Wednesday.
The town budget meeting is usually held on a Tuesday.
Yeah, so I mean, I may have just gotten it wrong. I'm just letting you know. I try to plug these in when we make these decisions. That's what I had, but if it's the 8th, it's the 8th. That's fine.
And so you're saying on April 2nd would be which meeting?
Well, I guess that would, there's the first or the second. I don't know. What do you want to do, Mark? If is the hearing usually a Tuesday?
The hearing is when we decide it is. So typically that would be on a Wednesday. I think we've done it.
So that would be
Yeah,
the second, the
traditionally.
week before.
If
right?
we want to do it the week before, yeah. If we do it the week before, that would maximize our amount of time that we have to work with the budget. You know, that would assume that we don't have anything that comes up during the hearing that would make us change it. So if we, you know, I'm okay with setting the second for the town budget hearing. It just, you know, just means that the following week would be the town budget meeting, which I think is fine. What we would have to do at that point is once we hold the hearing, we would then take the final vote from, as the Board of Finance on the budget and then go from there.
Right, so this is all dictated by the charter. The Board of Finance public budget hearing has to be not later than 85 days before the end of the fiscal year, which the 85th day, I believe, is April 4th. So it can be as late as April 4th, but then that makes it very difficult because the mailer has to go out 5 days before the annual budget meeting. And the annual budget meeting has to be in the second week of April, between April 7th and April 11th. You know, we tentatively had that scheduled for April 9th.
So we did have April 9th, you're saying? Okay, which is a Wednesday for the town budget meeting?
Correct. If my
Okay.
notes are correct.
Is there any reason it has to be on a Tuesday, or there's a strong favorability for that? I mean, I'm fine with Wednesday.
I'm fine with Wednesday.
It's our day, right? So,
I'm fine with it too.
That's our day.
so Eric, let me ask you this. If we have the hearing the prior week, that doesn't give you really the time you need to get the mailer out, right? Or does
So
it?
if you do it April 2nd, that gives you 7 days. And you can certainly, you can do that because it just has to be in the mail. It doesn't have to necessarily be received by everybody 5 days prior. But you just have to physically send out the mailer per the charter. It's close though. But I think April 2nd, and given how tight the timelines are, I think April 2nd and April 7th is doable. But that also means that on April 2nd, if you do the public budget hearing, then you are going to have to either approve that day or you're going to have another meeting the day after if you decide you want to make changes in the budget.
Right.
Because you have a really tight time window there.
Yep. I mean, typically, I think we've been able to have the hearing and then vote on the final budget immediately following. Because at that point, we've beaten it to death as a Board of Finance. The only, like I said, the only thing that would be unusual is if for something happened in the town hearing, we heard something in the interim that would make us think differently. But we would have to act quickly. I mean, that would just be it.
And you also could go as early, I mean, you could go March 26th too.
Yeah.
But that then takes out one of your budget meetings.
Yeah, that's our normal budget, or that's our normal Board of Finance meeting date.
Yep.
Yeah, we certainly could, but personally, I like the idea of having it a little earlier, but it does take a week out for us. Liz, you had your hand up. Did you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to, it's been a while since I've been to that town budget hearing. So that town budget hearing, basically, the Board of Finance presents the budget at that time, right?
No,
what happens
that's
at remind me?
that's the town meeting. Yeah, so there's two different events. The town budget meeting is the one that's in person where we present the budget to the town. And give people, and that's generally when the town votes to pass it on to referendum. The town
Okay,
budget,
right.
the town budget hearing is just kind of a more formal opportunity for the public to weigh in on the budget as it's developed at that point. So it's prior to the time the Board of Finance has approved the final budget to pass on to town meeting. It's just
Okay.
kind of a formal opportunity for the public to weigh in on the budget.
Okay.
You know,
Gotcha.
the same way they kind of could during a public speak session, but it's a little more give and take and it's a little more open.
Okay.
We rarely have much input then, you know, at that point, but that's what it's for.
And they're both in person. They're both,
Budget hearing we've done virtually typically. Not saying we couldn't, but we could, you know, typically we've done it.
Excuse me, Mark, one
Historically.
quick question. What date are we considering right now? You don't have to backtrack the whole thing. I'm hearing you.
for the budget
The-
meeting.
For
The budget meeting, yeah, would be on April 9th.
And the
the
hearing,
budget
And then the
meeting.
hearings is what we're trying to decide. It would either be April 2nd or March 26th. 1 week or 2 weeks earlier,
now we have our regular meeting scheduled for the 26th.
Yeah.
right?
Do you think? I didn't hear everybody's opinions on this, you know, I'm trying to keep my ear to the listening. Don't we usually have it 1 week before? I feel like it's been,
Yes.
because it's
Feel
gonna
like-
take us. We're already on a little bit of an earlier schedule, right?
Right. Yeah, sometimes we have it early, sometimes we've had it more than 1 week before.
Okay,
But because you're right, because of the tight time frame, it may make sense just to do it the week before.
that's my thought, just,
Okay,
thank you.
And what I would suggest is if you're gonna formally select April 2nd, then you also schedule a special meeting on April 3rd. And you just hold that in case you decide you need to make a change.
yeah, that makes sense.
And then if you don't need it, you just cancel it.
I mean, it would be a tentative schedule because we don't actually literally have to schedule it until. But if anybody just puts that in as a placeholder in their calendar, you know, that would be a good idea. Okay, so typically what we do then, if we're going to go ahead and we'll plan the town budget meeting will be April 9th. The budget hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, April 2nd. We'll have a tentative special meeting on April 3rd, just in case we need it to approve the budget.
And
Go ahead, Eric.
yeah, I was just gonna say, and this is just kind of a formality, I'm sure they would take your recommendation. But it's the Board of Selectmen that sets the date for the annual town budget meeting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the hearing is ours, but the town meeting is theirs. Yeah. Good
Right, it's
point.
yours to present, but it's theirs to pick the date.
Okay. So the other two dates we have on the calendar already are February 26th and March 26th. Those are our regular budget meetings. Just because this is what makes the most sense, I think we need to plan for budget meetings on March 5th, 12th, and 19th, which are the Wednesdays in March. And then who could ever make them could make them. And
Wait,
then
can you say
it-
those? I'm sorry.
Fifth,
Can you
12th,
say
and
that again?
19th.
Yeah, the 5th, 12th, and 19th would be
Of
budget
March?
meetings of March.
Yeah, just so we'd have every Wednesday in March.
Yep.
Right,
So then the question for me is kind of when do we have the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen to kick off the process? And then what meetings do we hold in February beyond that? Now, Eric, I think, I was looking for my notes and I could not find them. Do you remember when you expect to have the draft budget to present?
So I'll have a preliminary draft budget to the Board of Selectmen prior to February 3rd. The Board of Selectmen has chosen the 3rd and 10th for budget discussion.
Okay,
Of
Can you
February.
repeat those dates? please?
February 3rd and February 10th. February 10th is the regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting. So presuming that that happens and they're gonna limit it to 2 meetings, you could start any joint meetings or scheduling any meetings probably from the 11th on of
Yeah,
February.
so what
The
I would
12th and
propose
19th.
is the 12th and the 19th, exactly, yeah.
Yep.
Do we need multiples with them, or do we just do we're gonna have it once? What was our thought here?
I think we schedule the first two as, my opinion is any of them can be joint meetings, we can schedule them and make them optional.
Yep, yep.
And then, if they're good with what they passed on, then we can have that one initial, maybe a joint meeting just to discuss it, run through it, make sure we share any concerns that, might overlap with the two boards. And then we can, hopefully just go on and do our work. And we'll just plan for every Wednesday, it's either Board of Finance meeting or a budget meeting up until the town meeting. And maybe we won't need all those meetings. That would be great. But we'll see.
Okay.
Eric,
the only-
what day, I mean, sorry, Mark, what day did you decide to start in February? Or,
So
Well-
February 12th would be the first budget
okay,
meeting.
my vote was the 19th if I was able to talk, but we've already decided we'll start on the 12th.
Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just, if we want to give more
Okay.
time, we can.
That's fine.
Um,
No, I
yeah.
mean, I knew we'd be coming down to between. I just wanted a little time when we're able to see it to digest it. And I
Yeah.
know, like
it
Erica
c-
just said, the 3rd and the 10th that's fine. No, thank you. Just
It
keep
could
me-
turn out that the Board of Selectmen has, some things they want to address and they're not
Mhm.
ready on the 10th, so then we would just cancel the 12th and move on to the next month or the next week. Because I
No,
think
thank you.
we'd want
Yeah.
them to be comfortable with it,
We also have March 5th on the calendar. And what would we be doing on that day?
There's
Right, you said
Just
the 5th?
All
Or
of,
12th and
all of,
19th?
yeah, once we kick off
just-
the process,
Okay, I'll
we're
be
just gonna
back.
meet every week on Wednesday.
Right.
And
Okay.
hopefully some will be longer meetings, some will be shorter meetings. We
Gotcha.
cancel a meeting if we don't need it. But basically they'll just be all working meetings going through different department sectional budgets, trying to reach agreement on, what needs to change and what the final budget number should be.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I think in the past, we've had meetings where we broke things we tried to keep it to 2 hours, and it would take us 2 or 3 meetings to work our way through the full budget. So,
Yeah.
Pick revenue the first meeting and then,
Yeah.
departmental.
We're gonna need that those meetings. We're gonna need
them all.
probably most.
Yeah,
So
we may.
do different departments come to those meetings, or is that
Mhm.
done with the Board of Selectmen, or do they come?
We
to
can
those
ask
meetings.
anyone to
Explain to
come
us.
that we want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And typically what we've done in the past is the large expenditure departments such as the Public Works. We've had Jay come and kind of explain what they're targeting or what their thinking is. Sometimes
department.
we've had the fire commissioner
Yeah.
come and kind of explain what their goals are and why they've asked for what they have asked for.
Ram has come in to us before.
Graham comes
Usually,
in,
and
the Board of
AES.
Ed
And
comes in.
AES, yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah. So we'll generally schedule somebody in those
For each
first few
week.
weeks to try to get that under. Yep. Other questions or comments? Okay, so, for the purposes of scheduling and just recap, it sounds to me like what we have proposed for budget meetings would be February 12th, February 19th, March 5th, March 12th, March 19th. And then the budget hearing would be the 2nd, with a possible special meeting on the 3rd if we have a challenge passing the budget. And then the town budget meeting, we recommend to the Board of Selectmen, they schedule that for the 9th.
Okay, one question. I'm sorry.
Hmm? Hmm?
Can you repeat? I was not realizing we were starting in February with the budget dates. Can you repeat the February dates? I assume it's what, February 19th?
12th and 19th, yeah. So tentatively
Oh,
scheduled the
12th
12th for the first meeting.
12th
Yeah.
And 19th, and
And
we're
then the
skipping the
19th.
26th. And then we're skipping the
26
26th.
is our 26th is our regularly
Regular
scheduled
meeting.
Board
Oh,
of
regular
Finance
meeting.
meeting.
Okay,
And same for March 26th. So I didn't mention those as additional
okay,
meetings.
gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Okay, trying to keep it all straight.
Yeah,
here.
it's a lot. Yeah,
Sure is. Wow.
yeah.
This is
I mean,
our
I'll
Super
send
Bowl,
out,
right?
I'll send out an email. I'm not even sure
Right.
when it is.
And so for the record, the one meeting I'm going to miss is I'm going to miss March 12th. Because I will not be here then.
Which one, Eric, aren't you here?
March
Sorry.
12th.
Okay.
March 12th.
Yeah,
I'll-
I probably won't be available for that one either. That's a school vacation week for many and so that's my vacation week since my wife is a teacher. Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion that we set that as our budget meeting schedule?
Sure. Bill,
Okay, Bill?
yep, as discussed,
second it.
the
Rob
February,
seconds,
March
okay.
dates. Yep,
Okay, I think we all understood what they were.
yep.
Any further discussion? All
Just the
those in
quick
favor say-
question, we're starting on the 12th, right, Mark? Sorry, that's my discussion.
February.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
February
tentatively.
12th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
Yeah.
much week after week, once.
Pending,
Yeah.
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 And,
With
you
the
know,
understanding that we
pending
can cancel
that will-
any of these,
POS.
you know, as needed.
Thank you. Okay.
You know, if
Okay.
they come out of their meeting on the 10th and they're not ready, then we adjust.
Yep, exactly. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Oh, a different
Any-
question.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mark, with your absence and Mark's, I'm sorry, and Eric's at the same meeting, Eric usually sets these up. He usually does the recording. How would that all get done?
We're gonna rely 100% on you, Bill. You'll take care of it. It'll be fine. That's a good question. I'm sure we'll manage
All
something.
right, just want to make sure we have that covered, that's all.
Good point. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to item 5D2. This is discussion of the department budgetary expectations. So Liz, you mentioned this one. Do you
Yeah.
want to kind of explain what you're looking for?
Yeah, well, I was curious about what we can expect in terms of documentation from the Board of Ed. I've been doing a lot of research on other towns and what is readily available in their budget and on their websites. And I just feel like I'd like to see more of a complete budget that includes all their revenues, all their revenue sources, and including a breakout of a budget from the Early Learning Center. And the reason I bring it up tonight is because if we agree that we want to expect that, I want them to have time to be able, I don't want them to feel pressure, you know, if it's not something they're accustomed to doing. Any thoughts?
Mark, it's Joanne. Sorry, I'm going back and forth.
Go ahead,
Are
John. Yep.
I know that we've talked about this in the past, and probably the members that have been on the board for a while have said that too. We've brought it up, right, Mark? We called that more of a complete budget. If I'm understanding what Liz is asking for. You
Yeah,
know, with
I mean,
and
complete
think
budget with expenditures, I just don't, I think it's very basic what I have seen historically and you know, it's a pretty big portion of our town budget, and I think to pass, for us to responsibly accept um, or not accept certain increases, I think we should get full support.
Can I,
Documentation.
I- Go ahead, Louise.
the last senior luncheon, actually Valerie was there and she actually gave out some information on the budget and talked about it in detail. So what I can do is kind of forward this over to everybody. So at least you have something to look at in case you weren't there. And she also put in some sort of an enrollment report.
I've seen that. I've seen that budget.
Oh, you
Yeah,
saw,
I've seen that. I've seen that. And she has it posted. I think that very same thing is posted on the website.
okay.
There are also,
Um,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I mean, and I'm assuming you know this, but since I've got a kid in the school, I get the seesaw texts, from the school, and
Oh,
there's a
excellent.
presentation tomorrow in the gym at 7
Mhm.
about their draft budget.
Well, she also did that presentation. What was it? Where was I? It was last month's Board of Ed meeting. I think she gave that presentation. Do you think it's going to be different?
I don't know. I didn't see that earlier one, so.
Okay. So the other reason that I feel it's important is because their preschool program's getting very large, and it's great. It's great that there's out of town dollars coming in to help support the school and the budget. But we have no clarity on that. And it's town tax dollars that we're approving or disproving. So I feel pretty strongly about it.
Are you, I guess, asking like for financial analysis of the preschool, like, revenues and expenditures, specifically?
Just like we should get expenditures and revenues from the grammar school and then with a breakout of the preschool. They do it that way in Coventry. I have examples I can show.
Hmm.
It's very detailed.
Can I make a comment as well?
Yep, go ahead, Kim.
I mean, I do agree with Liz. The program, the pre-K program is growing. And I mean, and now we're looking at maybe 60 children in it. That's a substantial amount of children over at the school. And for me, it would be much easier to see that broken out, however you refer to it, Mark. I think it warrants that at this time. So I kind of agree with Liz here.
And also, and this kind of ties into my next subject, which I don't know if we should just include it, the AHM part. Because the 60 children are not all Andover children. Because historically speaking, about between 21 and 23 kids progress from kindergarten or from pre-K to kindergarten, except for that 1 year in 2021, 2022, I think it was. I think that was the year when there was that boom of 38 kindergartners. But historically, there's really only about between 21 and 22 kindergartners. And
But the preschool has multiple ages, right? So you wouldn't
Yeah.
expect
3 and
them all
4.
to graduate.
It's not.
They have 3 and 4. I'm sorry.
They're not all gonna move up at once, is what Mark is saying.
Right.
Correct.
It's about half,
Correct.
Right.
roughly.
But there are not.
Right. So correct. So there's 3 and 4-year-olds. I think so. To add that AHM piece in, we know that they open this up to other out of town schools or other out of town children. I mean, and that AHM figure that is calculated that we got that page on is based on the full enrollment of the Andover Elementary School. And not all of those are Andover children. So I don't think that's a fair calculation, and I think it's important to address that now because the meeting is what, February 6th, to accept that budget. So I think we really need to see a breakout of children. How many 3-year-olds, how many 4-year-olds, how many Andover 3-year-olds and Andover 4-year-olds, and then others. Because I don't think the town should take on, and we're not obviously talking 100 children, but it's not fair for the town taxpayers to pay for the additional children that come into the program. To base the calculation for the AHM fee based on that full enrollment when they're not all Andover children. Thoughts?
Isn't AHM though all 3 towns? Andover, Heber?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Right.
Andover school.
It's a
Andover-
good question to ask, though, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andover's preschool has Andover, not Andover, I'm sorry, Marlboro has Marlboro children. Hebron has Hebron children. Now, I don't know what other towns are coming into our program, but our AHM factor should be based only on Andover children, in my opinion, unless I'm wrong, unless there's a reason that that's not the case. I'm, welcome to be educated if I'm wrong, but I'm just saying from a common sense perspective, to me, it seems like, why are we including numbers of non-Andover children into that calculation?
So similar to like the RAM calculation.
Right.
I'm
Similar,
sorry, I didn't hear you.
similar to the RAM calculation. We only pay
Correct,
over people.
correct, right.
Correct.
Yeah,
I mean, depending, I guess, it's a fair question to ask, but I mean, I can imagine an answer to it, which would be that if the services are being used, right, and the kids are not from Marlboro or Hebron, now if the kids are from Marlboro or Hebron, then it gets interesting, right? But let's say they're from Coventry, just as an example, right? Coventry, there's no mechanism to charge Coventry money for AHM, is there? So if we were to say, well, our levy should drop, and Hebron and Marlboro would say, but wait, they're not our kids either. This could get sticky, is my thought. But I think it's a interesting thing to ask, and just
Wait, what do you mean they're
say,
not? What do you mean
I
they're
don't
not
know
our-
how long that's been a thing, and whether it started out maybe we only had like a tiny handful of non-resident, kids in the preschool, and so it wasn't really a thing, and now it's risen to a higher level. I don't know what the numbers are.
I think it's a fair question to ask.
Yeah, I think we should ask the question.
With the program growing at the rate that it is, and it's wonderful that it's growing.
Yeah. I mean, if the dollars that come in benefit the school, that's great. But it shouldn't be at the expense of, the taxpayers. Like, we pay taxes already on our children, right? Education. As we should.
Isn't there a lot of money that's grant money that supports that? I thought those preschool programs, I thought that was grant money.
There is grant money, and there's grant money that is used for certain things, but again, we've never gotten a breakdown of what the grant money pays for. Unlike Coventry, which shows all their grant dollars and what they go to.
Yeah, what I think Liz is getting at is if our enrollment at the preschool artificially inflates our percentage of the costs, our prorated
AHM.
percentage of the costs for AHM,
Right.
then that should be looked at,
Right.
Correct.
I doubt it's a big number, but
It's probably not a
in the
big
interest
number.
of fairness, yeah, we should just suss that
Mhm.
out and ask the question.
So
Okay.
I bring that up because I know, Louise, you had mentioned you would go to that meeting, you'd attend that meeting. I kind of think we need to have that question before that meeting so that if there's any adjustments to be made, and I'm happy to look in to get that answer.
Okay.
I'd like.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
I agree.
Liz, I would actually reach directly out to Tess or Tressa, sorry,
Tressa? Yeah.
Tressa. She's the director of AHM. That's a perfect
Okay.
question for her.
Joanne? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring, since we're talking preschool, I wanted to bring everyone's attention that there are, with the new laws in Connecticut too, with the age, there's probably a few 5-year-olds. I think they brought it up at the last meeting too. Remember, if they don't turn 5 before September, then they're retained in preschool until, so I think that's what
Right.
we were getting at the tri-board meeting too, when we were trying to figure out the ages and the advancing to the next grade.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's, now we have a little bit of 5-year-olds that are gonna be involved in preschool too, but there are 4 classes. And again, with popping in and out, as you guys all know, and thank you, Liz, for bringing this up. I just was digging through my file when we were trying to have the budget presented in a different way that you bring up in the past. I had that document where we were talking about the different grants and then and I think they have, we need to speak to in the report that the board has been sending us. I think it's called the BOE monthly report. They do start listing the grants on the right-hand column. So we know the name and the amount, but I think we're not quite sure. We know like school readiness will be for preschool and different things I recognize are for the special ed services that go, something called an IDEA grant. But we do have quite a few there. And then one thing that when I did meet with Val about presenting the budget in a different way, she wanted to bring up that some of the grants are not allowed to supplant the budget. To be listed in the expenses, but I don't think it's a bad thing to ask what each one is going for, if the other towns are presenting it in different ways where it can show that they get 20,000 for a grant and what they spend that on. So we're not asking it to be in our budget, but just kind of listing those and maybe giving a little bit more information. So I see what you're saying. But I just dug out my thing and I remember her specifically saying we can't use grants to supplant Board of Ed budget money, which we understand, but they also
Mhm.
use it to pay some expenses, additional. And then she also wrote on there non-funded things. So these are different things that they've been able to get through grants. That's my 2 cents to add to that as we try to get something a little bit different.
Okay, yeah. More
Oh,
detail would
sorry,
not
and
be
then I was
bad.
gonna
Oh,
ask
go ahead.
Mark, did you, and I'm sorry if you said you were gonna do this, Liz. Did you want me to reach out to the finance person at the board to ask for a little bit more detail on the grants? Is that helpful, or are we as a board talking about asking for a whole new process? Have we decided?
I mean, I'd like to see a more robust budget myself with expenditures, actuals. But I'm just one person, so.
Yep.
They're asking for like an 8% increase this year,
I
so
agree,
I
Liz.
think.
8%. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they better justify that one.
I would like to see both the budgets split out by our pre-K and our K through 6 kids.
And to include all income sources,
Income, expenses,
revenue
because of
sources,
the
yeah.
size of the program. I think that's fair.
I would suggest, Mark, that if you're gonna do that, you as a board should probably vote on that. And then you just send the chair of the Board of Ed and Val a letter stating exactly what your budget expectations are.
Yeah, I don't personally know that we need to vote on it, but we can certainly just through the budget discussion, kind of agree that we want to have a little more detail and then send a note to them. Just want to make sure we're as specific as possible. So
agreed.
yeah, so what I'm hearing is that we want to make sure that they've identified all revenue sources, including grants that they've been able to get and secure in the past, knowing that they may not be renewed. And that detail of expenditures, maybe year to date, including an analysis of what the kind of the breakout for the preschool. You know, do they have, you know, the expenditures for the preschool should, you know, you'd think that they have an awareness, you know, the treasurer would have an awareness kind of what the costs are there and the ability to separate that versus the income, of course, that they get from it. So,
Mhm. Yeah, it should be a simple report based on all their numbers. Anybody, you know, a decent.
yeah, it depends on how they
person-
have it in their system, but yeah, I mean,
Okay.
they should be able to do it, right? It may, even if it takes some work to come up with.
Well, and
Yeah,
that-
so that's why I wanted to bring it up tonight because I didn't want to feel this way and then want to request this and have them be like, oh, now we're hearing about this, you know. I think they
Yeah.
should have a fair
Yeah.
amount of time to get their stuff together.
And I think the Board of Ed, the board members tend to get a lot more detail than we typically would, you know, have presented in a public meeting or something like that. So that, you know, there's certainly the data is there somewhere at some level. So.
Mhm.
So the other question that, you know, that brings up in my mind, what exactly are you? Because there's a lot of commonality between the programs. I mean, you have a building. So
Mhm.
do you want to allocate a portion of the building maintenance cost to the pre-K? Do you want to allocate a portion of the heating cost to the pre-K? What do you, or do you want to just, because a lot of those are basically sunk costs you would do,
Hmm.
whether you have a small pre-K or a large pre-K. So I think you guys got to think through, if you're going to ask them to do that, what you want to attribute to what.
Yeah, that gets to be a pretty complicated thing. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
assumptions and analysis that has to go into that. I mean,
Yeah.
personally, I would say that's probably
Not gonna
not.
get it.
No, I mean, we could
Yeah.
just do that. I mean, if we look at what the building expenses say, you know what, take 15% or 10%. And if you wanted to, you could allocate it. But Eric is right, those costs would be there anyway.
That's
Maybe
fair.
not, maybe wouldn't
That's
have
fair.
quite so much heating, but you know, it would not be
Right.
huge.
Right. The
But I think
building's
even
still
if we
there.
just had a starting basis, like, okay, what's the enrollment? What's the attendance? You know, what are the
And the
expenditures
salaries,
for
you know, how many-
instruction? Right.
How many salaries are going to the pre-K?
Grants.
You know, salaries, grants, you know, everything having to do with running a school for the pre-K, other than the building itself.
Yeah. If there's
You know.
specific supplies that are specific to the pre-K.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be getting a little too much if we're
Yeah,
asking for.
we don't need to,
I don't think we
Yeah.
were doing that. I think it's nice to know. They talk often, and I believe them that they say it's a self-supporting
That's what
you
she's
know,
always,
entity because
she
they
says,
collect
but we
their-
don't, and I don't doubt that it's self-supporting,
Oh,
but
no. I understand. You want to see the reports behind it.
Yeah.
So like I said,
Right.
that's more what we're trying to do. We want to get across that we're not trying to get
Right.
every little
Right.
percent
It's-
of,
It's a
at least
big
not in my
program.
thing, like Eric had said, oh, how much heating, how much electricity, we're not going there. We just want to kind of have a breakdown. And that was a good point just to see where we are because those numbers are very high, like in the 60s. So
Right.
yeah. Mark, I'm just gonna ask you, since you know what we're looking for, are you able to send that email or draft it? Because the way you presented it with what you just said.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll draft something and I'll send it
Mm.
around for all of you. And if anybody has any
Nice.
input or comments, you
Mhm.
can reply. And then we'll
Yeah, that
formally
would be
send it
good.
over to them.
yeah, if we can all look at it before it goes.
Yeah, and if
Um,
I'm missing anything or somebody thinks of something different, you know,
Mhm.
we're all in the position of being able to ask for specific information. It doesn't have to be a joint board thing. There's just a little
Right.
more heft behind it if we
And
all
I don't
agree
think
there's some we're looking for.
it's a big surprise because we have, I mean, it's been 2 years in a row, you know, and now that we're going back and forth and talking about different things, I mean, it's worth since, you know, it was.
Yeah, we've been
brought up
getting more data, but it's
ahead of
it's,
time,
yeah,
and
sure.
Liz was being considerate too, because the last thing you want to do is prepare something and then at the last minute you're asked to bring in more, so.
Yeah.
Now that we're in January, okay.
Yep. Okay, that sounds like the plan there. Anything else under that we wanted to address?
That was it, and that was it for the AHM piece, and I will I'll contact that person about
Chessa,
our
yeah.
yeah. Um, And if it is true that we should only be considering Andover students, then I will reach out to Valerie and ask her to send me a detailed report of,
Yeah, we should know what the breakout is, yeah. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think we should have that anyway as part of the budget, frankly. I mean, I really think that should be part of the budget, but I think we need to know this sooner than then, only because this meeting was coming up.
yeah,
Yeah, although it is gonna make a pretty small change. Because as far as I understand, there's only like 4 out-of-town kids in the pre-K program. It's not a big number. And
Well,
the pre-K or the total school enrollment is only half of the weighting factor for the formula. So the other formula, so it's based off of 2 things. It's based off of the CIRC town profile for overall population of town, and then on the actual school enrollment. It's based off of those 2 factors, and it's an
Right.
average of those 2. So if you think, 4 out of 396, is basically 1%. And then, but it's only half in the weighting formula. That means it would be about a 0.5% change. So theoretically, it's about $1,000, as I understand it.
okay. That's good to know the, kind of the scope. Yeah, fairly small, but I still think it's worth asking the question, just
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's
due
important.
diligence, yep. Okay. Well, if everybody's good with that, then we can move on to item 6, which is new business. 6A is to discuss the Board of Ed stiff account request. So Eric, you kind of already addressed that your belief is that we can only have 1 stiff account per town. Joanne, you thought you just had read something that indicated we might be able to have more than that. So it sounds like I don't know if that's really a question that the treasurer could answer, or we need to do some more digging on that.
I did,
Um,
Mark, I did send her a list of questions just to find out, what the process would be, how would we do this?
You sent the treasurer the questions?
treasurer.
Okay,
Just to make sure, because she has sent us between the Board of, the Board of Ed has been asking a few questions along the way. So I kind of reviewed my emails, tried to get information out of there. And I feel like Cheryl at one point said that if they wanted to, it does have to go through the Board of Finance. So I think they're following Cheryl's direction to ask about it, but I don't feel like I'm the authority on it. So I want to make sure we have all of, have our ducks in a row. So I did go on the website and I'm trying to find the page right here.
okay. But I think we're not under
Yeah.
any, urgency here, right? So we have
Sure.
sounds like we have to do some more research and maybe see what, if the treasurer, we find out more information, so.
Okay, so know that I have outreach to her. I'm sure she'll get back to me. She usually does within a few days. I only sent the email yesterday. So maybe she can guide us on how we could do that. And then I guess their second subject, like Eric had told us too, at any given town, at any given time, the town has their cash flow going through the stiff account already, depending on what's coming in and out. So most of the money is there, so that's a good thing. So I just think we need clarification on the AES capital fund account as well. The
The 2% non-lapsing account.
the 2%, but then I think they asked about, in the same email, they did ask about the capital account as well. So like you said, no decision I don't feel has to be made tonight. Definitely, I had gone to a Board of Ed meeting and spoke up, and another Board of Ed member had spoken up too, just stating that we're glad that we have the stiff account. We're glad the Board of Ed has a capital account now, and we'll get all of the logistics of stiff accounts worked out eventually, but we've got to get all the facts together.
Okay.
well, Mark, sorry, the one
No,
thing
go ahead.
to that the board has never really weighed in on is that since we moved the money into the STIF account, and actually even before that, the town always accounted for that interest income just as a revenue stream overall for the town. And in fact, we list investment interest as a separate line item on the town's budget on the income side. You know, and it's a fairly considerable amount. And if you take 12 months of data, December 1, 23 through December 1, 24, that's about 184,000 in revenue. So it's a pretty big chunk of change that we're getting from the interest. But the question has become, should that be sub-allocated to all the capital funds? AES thinks that the AES capital fund or the 2% non-lapsing and the AES capital fund, those interests should be allocated to the individual account, not to the budget as a whole. And that is a Board of Finance question, how you want to deal with that. Because if we're going to be sub-allocating, then that's basically $160,000, $170,000 hole in our budget we have to fill. So that's really a you guys question.
Yeah, I thought we had taken that
Yeah.
question up. I thought we had addressed that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that generally, I think the feeling of the board was that it was fair that if there's a capital account that's dedicated for the school, that it should, that the 2% non-lapsing account, that any interest that accrued really should be allocated back to those accounts.
I thought
Yeah.
it was discussed that it would stay with the general fund. I may be
Right.
misremembering.
Yeah, we may have to go back and look, and it could be that we never took action, but just voiced general opinion on it too.
I
But,
feel like
think
it's
we
been
need-
discussed a lot, and Eric spoke better than I clarified about,
Hmm.
we're trying to say this is a good income stream for the town, having the STIF account in general. And I spoke up at their meeting and said it right to them that I get this is new and everybody wants their piece of the pie, I guess, is what I want to say. Like if it's the money allocated there, they want the interest too. But we can't lose sight of the whole thing in general is just good for the town. And so I was very pleased, I'm taking my lead from Eric, that a Board of Ed member spoke the same way at their meeting and said, we get it, we do want to get interest, but overall, let's be happy for the town getting this extra money. And then I don't think we did take action.
We didn't.
I think Mark's right. I think we thought it was fair, but I think it was we're just at the beginning stages of trying to figure all this out because it's extra.
Didn't really dig into it. Okay.
Yeah, and then we will have to my
Well, we may have
personal-
decided it
Yeah.
was really a decision at budget time, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Because that would change the allocations, right? So I
Yeah.
think that we may have deferred it to the budget process.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, it's a hard one to say because like Eric said, if we take it away, then we have to fill that hole.
Yeah.
Which we don't want to do, I mean, it's a bonus for the town, but I understand certain funds, like we're gonna have to talk about it more.
Well, I think you
don't
just
know
end
if
up with a
it's-
reduction in the allocation to those funds,
Right.
right? That
Mhm,
would keep the intent of the budgetary allocations.
mhm.
But the
Yeah,
way those
this
funds
is-
are set up in the past, they wouldn't have made that kind of interest anyways, right?
Right.
They would not have made that interest. They would, in the accounts that they were in all their little individual accounts, they were probably making 0.0 something % interest. And so
Correct,
this
Bill.
is a bonus for the town. It's a
Yes.
good thing for the town.
For
And
everyone.
on their own, they would not have made this kind of interest. It's a benefit to the town that everybody's gonna benefit from. So I think that's how we have to look at that, but
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, one way or the other, I mean, there's a certain amount that's going to go to those capital funds. And there's a certain amount that has to go into revenue for the town to pay our expenses.
Mhm.
So, my guess is that if we do allocate that interest back into those accounts, we're probably gonna have to reduce the amount going into those funds,
Right.
right?
I mean, if we keep it simple, if we
We're
keep
not
it
gonna take it
simple,
from, yeah,
right, keep it simple and keep the interest in the general fund or the whatever. And then every budget season, we're gonna have to contribute towards a capital fund of one or another anyway.
yeah.
And I don't know
Does
how much
that make
work
sense?
this would put on the treasurer, whoever is allocating, maybe. it
Cheryl
could-
had said it wasn't that big of a deal.
Okay,
Yeah, she didn't seem to think it was a huge thing. It sounded like a pain in the butt to me. But she
Yeah.
didn't seem to think it was that big of a deal.
Mhm.
So I didn't see that as a big obstruction. I think it's more just philosophically, how do we want to deal with it as a town?
And I think we're so new. Isn't this our first full cycle of having this additional revenue? So to
it's
have to
probably been
make
about a
all
year,
of these
yeah.
decisions
Maybe a
and,
year.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, but I do
I
think
think
it
we
is
can-
something we have to address as part of the budget process.
Okay.
We'll have to
Alright.
make that decision, right? So,
Okay.
So I noticed on the minutes from the 12/18 meeting, it says under new business at the very end, it mentions about, let's see, the 2% non-lapsing account not included in policy as in a separate account. But under that, it says BOE able to add surplus funds to either account. What is that?
Correct. So I can probably explain that to you. So the Board of Ed, presumably most years, runs at the end of the year a slight surplus. As does the town.
Okay,
The Board of Ed, by state law, up to 2% of their budget can be put into what's called the 2% non-lapsing account without any other approvals by anybody. They just have to notify you that they're doing it. And then it's the treasurer's responsibility to automatically transfer. They basically cut the town a check from the town's or from the school's checking account. That goes into the 2% non-lapsing account. And then there is additional, any money outside that 2% non-lapsing account. What we've done the last year is we've allowed them to put that into the AES capital account. Now, they could choose not to put that money in the 2% non-lapsing and put it all in the AES capital fund, or they could put up to 2% in the 2% non-lapsing and recommend that the rest goes into the AES capital fund. Likewise, the town, is set up to contribute to the AES capital fund because we all know the school has capital expenditures that we need to be budgeting for. And the object is to set up all these capital funds so that you essentially level fund. So you don't get any big shocks in any one year. When a project comes up, you keep putting money into it and then boom, now you need to tap it for X. That makes sense.
okay,
Total
yeah,
sense.
okay, thanks.
Excuse me, Louise, did you get the email? We had sent out the revised policy of the, I think that's what that was referring to, right? What AES could do with their money at the end of the year. Once it's been audited.
Yeah,
Eric just went through it, but if you, I
Okay.
think I included you on the email and it's pretty simple. So
Okay.
you could look at that too.
that has no effect on any type of surplus, I mean, from the stiff account, the monies that they get from the stiff account.
No,
No,
Okay.
no.
not related. Yeah.
no. I forgot you weren't there in December, Louise, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't.
okay.
Okay, any other discussion on the STIF account? Okay, so we're gonna do some more research there. So item 6B is, Liz, you had brought this up. This was a discussion about transfers. For the
Transfers.
town garage for the equipment.
I
Oh,
think I did.
Kimber, yeah. Kimber,
I'm sorry, did I say Louise? Liz?
you did.
Who
No,
did?
Kim did.
Kim did, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I didn't put
I
names
just
here.
wanted to ask if because we sold some equipment, has the money gone back into the general fund for the sale of the equipment? Because I'm not able to figure that out looking at the information that I have. And I believe that that's what's supposed to happen.
Yes. That
Okay.
was a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen, which the Board of Finance voted to send it directly to the general fund. So
Okay.
you won't see that because it's in the current budget year. So you won't, that's not something we're really gonna see and have visibility on. I mean, we could give you deposit tickets and show you that it went in, but you won't see that, pick that up until the audit comes out. Not this audit that we're gonna get in a month or so, but the audit in a year plus a month or so.
Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to figure this all out, and I wanted to
Yep.
ask that question. Thank you.
Yep.
So I
Okay.
know also that the town administrator's report was omitted from the agenda. Was that on purpose? Normally do?
Are you
Because,
talking about this for today's meeting?
yeah. I don't see it on the agenda.
No, we didn't really have it. Yeah.
I just gave you the board of, because not, most of you don't go to the board of I didn't write a separate administrator's report for the Board of Finance. Sometimes I do, but we're in the budget season. I don't have time. So I just threw my existing report that I gave to the Board of Selectmen to give to you.
Okay.
Because that has some information.
Yeah,
for you.
it's in there. It's just, it's not on the agenda,
Yeah.
but it's in
Yeah.
our
Agenda,
packet.
I see it, yeah, I see that. All right, so we're not gonna discuss it then.
Mm.
Nice, I take it. Is that correct? Mark, I think you're muted.
Sorry, yeah. We can't because it's technically not on the budget. I
Not
mean, we could talk
the
about it
agenda.
during the board open discussion. Yeah, not on the agenda. Thank
on the
you.
agenda.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay, so Kim, are you good with the answer there? So it sounds like those transfers were done or being done and
Yes, I am.
we could, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I have also item 6C. This is the question I think that Liz brought up about the AHM allocation. And Liz, your questions
Yes.
were answered in the previous discussion, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
will find out the answer to my questions and go from there.
Okay,
Let
we
y'all
can
know.
always add them to future meetings too. Okay, so if we're good there, then the next item is agenda item 7, board open discussion. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring before the board?
I
Eric,
will
one-
all, oh, I was gonna say, I could
Uh,
let you all know
Go ahead,
that
Liz.
I am headed to Florida for the month of February. I will be just moving
Nice.
my domicile for a month to go for something warm. I will be able to attend all the meetings through Zoom and all that as well.
So
leaving Monday.
I'm sorry, are you volunteering to host the meetings there in Florida? Is that what?
Yeah, sure. Come on down. Indian Shores, come on down.
Oh, I was just
Yeah.
there last May or April.
Indian Shores?
Yeah, I have a good friend in Bradenton, but we had a kind of a guys trip down there, so.
Oh, fun. Yeah, so I'll be there for the month and be back early March, because we're driving. March, will that affect? Hopefully I'll be back by the 5th. If I'm not, I'll be calling in from wherever I am.
You'll have access to remote
Yeah,
meeting.
Yep,
Okay,
I'm bringing everything with me, so.
okay. Okay, good. Have fun. Joanne?
Board open discussion.
Yep.
Yep, I have a quick question for Eric. I had emailed him, but I don't think he saw it, or I know he's busy. Eric, I know that, and I'm not asking anything personal about personnel or anything like that, but you had stated in one of our meetings that because of the change in the formula to the MRF system, that, and it's public knowledge, we have a retirement coming up in the town, due to whatever. Is there some kind of, can you tell me what happened? Is it just in the formula and figuring out payments to the employees, or was there anything that affects the town contributions or things?
So it affects the town positively in the sense that when the actuaries crunch the numbers, it means the town has to put less in to the account than we did previously. As you might have remembered, the percentage of a person's salary that the town had to contribute had climbed to, somewhere in the low 18% into the requirement, and the change dropped it down to about 15%. What it does basically is states that instead of the way it used to be, is that there was an automatic cost of living increase for retirees that was, I think, 2.5%. It could be higher if inflation was higher than that, but it couldn't be lower than 2%. And that provision is going away over the next couple of years. So if the inflation rate is less than 2.5%, then the employees would get less of a COLA in that period. So it's enough of a change that two employees are going to take it. The town clerk is retiring as of 8 days from now. And the public works foreman or supervisor, Jay Tuttle, is probably leaving prior to July 1.
And the change affects this whole year. They're allowed. When did you say it's gonna change again? Sorry.
The change, anybody that is still an employee as of July 1 is
Okay, yeah.
affected by the change.
Fiscal, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Eric. Now I understand. Yep. Appreciate
Yep.
it.
Okay, anything else for the board open discussion?
You might ask Rob to talk a little bit about CIP.
Rob, would you like to talk about CIP?
Well, yeah, sure. Let's see if I remember it right, Eric. We had a presentation from the fire department. They were asking us to approve a project to replace some counters and cabinetry in their kitchen. Well, they're 2 rooms. The kitchen was cabinet and counters, and there was like their, I don't know, operational room or what have you. Their counters beat up. The problem is I forget the price tag that we agreed up to, Eric. Do you recall?
I would have to go back and look at the CIP
I know.
meeting minutes. I was at the meeting where CIP approved that. The estimate from Ron Mike was around $16,000.
I feel
you
like we approved up to 18.
more than that. Yeah.
I think we rounded up a bit just to give them some play. Because a couple people raised some questions, and you might want to check on this or that. So I think we wanted to give them a little bit more. The stuff they've got is quite old. It's not in disastrous condition, but I think we felt it was justified, and so agreed to bless it and send it onward. So that was the gist of things. Oh, and
They
have-
targeting this budget year?
Yes, right.
So Mark, actually what I suggested is that since that is a building related expense, it would probably be reasonable to take that out of the building maintenance fund, which is the capital fund for those types of projects. Especially since so I think we have the budget left over in that fund. We can theoretically do it this year. I've asked the fire department to come back with at least 3 full responsible quotes on that. And they're separating out the cabinetry from the top. So they'll have quotes for both those elements, both with labor. So the Board of Selectmen has agreed tentatively to take it out of this budget, but they want to see the actual details of the quote. So just bringing it to your attention that's happening and seeing whether you had any questions or concerns with that part.
And then the other thing was their equipment. They need to replace a bunch of their turnout gear, right?
Turnout gear, no.
Yeah.
I think we knew that was pending.
Yeah. And once again, I'm sorry, I'm a little out of it today. I can't remember off the top of my head what the price tag was on that. It was more, I think. And that one obviously would come out of the fire equipment fund.
I think it
That's
was
not cheap stuff.
200,000, wasn't it?
It's just
Something like
over
that.
200,000.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
like 30
200,000.
pieces of gear or something like that, or 20
Yeah.
pieces of gear. They want to change out everything to keep everything standardized. It was, it was a good explanation from Wally.
Yeah, so my question about that is, does it all have to be changed at the same? I mean, we're talking $200,000. Can they do like they can't step it up to like 5 this year? Because I know there's 30 pieces or
Yeah.
something like that, right?
So Wally's explanation was that it's really, really, really helpful to have all the equipment be the same because there are little changes, and then you have to have people trained on different types of equipment. If you might not have a single set. So I mean, since it's been a while since we changed out the equipment, there have been changes. These things kind of go through iterations and they function slightly differently. And so you would have to have your training. It might make their training process a lot more complicated if they were having multiple sets of equipment. So it made sense to do it all in one shot. I mean, if there wasn't that hurdle, then yes, I think absolutely they'd look at doing a staged swap out 10 at a time or something.
We can always have Wally come and make a
Explain it,
presentation to us
Yeah,
too. So
he
that's
basically,
probably a
that
good
question
idea.
got asked by
For that kind of
CIP.
money.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we
if
asked
he-
that question.
Yeah.
And that was, I think I'm giving a reasonable facsimile of his explanation. It really boiled down to the fact that it wouldn't be the same stuff, and so you'd have guys who knew that you one piece of equipment but not the other, and then you have to train them on both, and then in an emergency situation, which ones do you have on the truck? And they didn't like that idea at all. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I think we should have them come and talk about it when the time comes.
How
Kim?
many, do you know how many firefighters or volunteer firefighters we have?
Roughly 35
Okay.
Oh,
between,
really? That many?
but yeah, but that includes, not everybody's a firefighter. That includes the EMS. Overall, there's about 35 members of the Andover Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay.
But not everybody's a trained fireman. What could potentially be done, and it would not be what the fire department would necessarily want. If they're gonna turn it over, because the SCBA units that they have now are vintage. They're a design from the mid-80s. That was like the fourth iteration of that type of equipment when they bought it, and although they acquired that over a period of time as the department got bigger, they purchased all of that same essentially model and vintage. So some of the stuff they have is as old as 30, some of the SCBA stuff is as old as 35 years old. Some of that is newer. On each vehicle, they need basically 8 sets. And there's really 2 vehicles that the sets would go on. So theoretically, the minimum they could transition at once would be 16. They would prefer to transition 20 at once because 20 gives them 2 sets for putting people through the Connecticut Fire Academy, because you're required to carry your own SCBA, and it's not available to the town if you're off training. And then, 1 to 2 units in case you have them in for repair, because you have to send them back when they in for repair. So, one possibility would be to purchase, if we're really tight on funds, would be to purchase 16 of them, and then wait 2 years and purchase another 4, and get them all the same vintage. So that's a possibility. That's not what they would prefer. And I'm sure the fire commission would be happy to bring you in the actual equipment to look at and understand why. But basically what they don't want to do is, if you're grabbing a set off the rack, and you're plugging in your air bottles. You want all the controls where you know they're going to be, and you want the hookups to be the way, you know, you don't want to grab one set and then grab a backup set and then have it be set up differently. So that is the goal. A lot of their other gear, like their turnout, their the helmets, the physical turnout gear, that is all just part of their operations budget. They buy a little bit of that every year. They buy some boots, they buy some pants, they buy some of the smocks, they buy some gloves, but the turnout gear is the thing they want to buy kind of en masse. Or the
Is there-
SCBA unit, I'd say.
Mhm.
Is there a way to get a link for what they want to purchase, just so I can make myself familiar with it? I'm trying to, understand all of this.
Sure, we can
Is
get it
there
much
Or
Amazon.
I think if you Google turnout gear
I
or
think the issue-
SCBA, you'll get an
I-
idea of it.
I think
It's-
the issue here
SCBA
too-
is the self-contained breathing apparatus. It's the
Okay.
mask and the oxygen,
Yeah, this is
the
the-
regulators.
This is the stuff that, keeps them alive in a fire situation. The other thing is,
I'm just curious.
I think
if
there's a
some-
really limited number of manufacturers where they can get this stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they've had a long and good experience with the one they want to use.
Mhm.
So this is what it makes it tricky to kind of try and save money, because there's not a lot of places to go, and places where they can like vouch that the manufacturer is good for the not only the equipment but the repair stuff too, right, Eric? Where they have to send things back periodically to get them fixed up, because they inspect these things very consistently, and if any throws any kind of error, they're going to have to send it back. They can't repair them.
Okay,
So
well, it sounds
unfortunately, it's
like
expensive stuff.
action for a future meeting, and I think with that amount, we definitely want some in-depth
Hands-on.
discussion about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Wally give his spiel, for sure.
Okay. Any other topics for the board open discussion? I just have one, Eric. It looks like the old charter is still on the town website. I don't know if we can get that updated to the new one. And that's all I have.
Speaking of the website, there's a couple other things I noticed are missing. Where is my list? I started writing a list because every now and then I'll go on to look for something and I'll click a link and it's broken. I'm like, ugh. And I should deal with it when it comes up, but I don't. I think it was so the final budget for this year is not in the budget tab on the website. And I think there was also the last time I saw an annual report that was uploaded on the website is 2020 to 2021. Shouldn't we have those every year?
Yep.
Or is that something that should we see those every year, or should those be updated every year? I don't know. I'm just asking.
There should be a report every year. Yes.
Okay, well, there isn't that. And I
Right.
was wondering why under the finance department page, there's a link. There's a link here to visit Andover Elementary School website. It's just a little thing, but just curious under why the finance department page, there's a link to visit Andover Elementary School website.
I guess
As I
because
find
there's such a
there's-
big chunk of our budget.
Probably,
Yeah,
probably.
it's
But
the
as
one,
I
they don't control it, yeah.
Yeah, as I find other little things like that, Eric, I'll just keep a list of them and I'll shoot you over an email because
Yeah,
I assume.
That would be perfect. And one thing that to be honest with you, last year, because I know I needed help doing essentially project management, I swapped from having a full-time, or not a full-time, but a part-time admin assistant to just assigning my admin assistant role to the part-time tax collector. So that is the only
Okay.
person we have doing website updates. So it is problematic, and I admit
Okay.
that. It's just yeah.
Oh, this isn't a criticism. It's just things I notice now and then, and you know,
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
I
shoot
should
those
just
to me.
let you know. Yeah.
Shoot those to me in an email and I'll forward them to Kate to address. So
Okay.
yeah.
Anything else for board open discussion? Okay, hearing none, I guess we'll go on to item 8, which is correspondence. Have we had any correspondence other than the AHM thing, which I think we all got the last day or so? I haven't received anything.
No, we had the email that we already addressed from the Board of Ed about the, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
About the stiff account, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to agenda item 9, which is public speak. Looks like we still have Charlene as our only member of the public there. Do you have anything you want to bring up, Charlene?
No, thank you. I'm all set.
Okay, thank you. And I give you a lot of credit for sticking through this.
You know.
Fascinating stuff, I know. And so that brings us to adjournment. Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, Louise makes the motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Kim, I saw your hand first. Any discussion?
Bill tried.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? Hearing none, then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and we'll be seeing each other before too long.
Feel better.
Quite a bit.